Earlier this year, there was a that came out called Civil War, directed and written by Alex Garland. Um, and given the events that have been going on recently, I decided, you know what? I've never seen it. I'm going to give it a shot, see what it is. Because when it first came out, there was people going, "Oh, it could happen here. This could happen for real." And I was like, "Okay, let's take a look at it and see what it is, right?" And the United States basically has flipped into a couple different factions. There's just sort of loose understanding of why the Civil War is taking place. They don't really address it. It just is. And the movie is really more about the photojournalist kind of taking photos of the war as it takes place. Um, and it really just kind of, I think, as a movie, its intent is to just kind of show us the brutality of what war would be like if you fought one in your own country, about how some people kind of try to ignore it. Some people are involved. It's just sort of this weird mishmash of stuff. I had a lot higher hopes for the film. But the big question is, could it actually happen for real? And if you look at the way this is kind of laid out, I don't think so. I don't think there's a chance it could actually happen this way for real. Because number one, it's split kind of evenly among state lines. And states don't, if there were a civil war, I don't think it would fall apart that way. I know it did during the actual US Civil War, but if it happened again today, I don't think that would occur. I think it would be along political lines. I don't think it would be along state lines. And you certainly wouldn't see Texas and California working together. That's kind of weird. But the other thing that would have to absolutely occur is you'd have to have the military fall apart. You'd have to have the military decide which side they were going to fall down on, and pieces of it would go one way, pieces of it would go another. And otherwise, it's not going to last very long, right? Even if you take like the Texas National Guard and say, okay, Texas National Guard up against the U.S. Army and Air Force, it's not going to take long before the Guard is ripped to shreds. Um, and we see every election cycle about people going, this one means war. We're going to rebel. No, you're not. Not up against, the organized U.S. military. You're not. When tanks roll down your street, you don't have anything that's going to get through that thing, right? When Apache helicopters come overhead, good luck, right? You can't take one of those things down. And the argument usually is, well, they can't fire on U.S. citizens. Yeah, but if you've declared yourself no longer a citizen and you've seceded from the Union, it doesn't count anymore. And if you're shooting it, if you've declared yourself not a citizen, oh, they can't fire at civilians. Okay, but if you're shooting at them, they're going to shoot back. That's just the way it works, right? So you would be massively outgunned unless the military falls to pieces too. I don't see a world in which that occurs. So really, this would not be, I think, the way a civil war would really take place. The U.S. military would just have to stay out of it. There's no way a war would take place otherwise. If you were going to see something take place that were a civil war, so to speak, in modern day, I think it'd be more along the lines of wide civil unrest that you would have to call the National Guard in to kind of quell, because I don't see state governments saying, okay, we're no longer a part of the union. I don't see that happening because I don't see any of them with enough intestinal fortitude to stand up to the federal government and go, okay, what you're doing is not fair. I do see large political swaths of people that are willing to do that, but that's not the same thing as a civil war. That's just civil unrest. And so unless you can actually get a government to come back and say, hey, we're going to actually, rebel. So, Texas, for instance, up against the U.S. government. Um, I don't think anything on this scale could occur. Now, that doesn't mean you won't have civil unrest. And, just yesterday we saw a presidential candidate with a assassination attempt that didn't go very well. He's fine. So I'm out playing golf today on the news. So um, I don't think anything of this scope is possible. I do think that in this country, we need to start to back down the rhetoric. We need to stop to back down the threats that go back and forth, and we need to stop and sort of back down the talk of if you're not with us, you're against us. We need to start to have some civil dialogue again, which is much different than a civil war. We need to be able to sit at a table and discuss our differences and sort of decide, hey, look, we disagree on a lot of stuff, but we really do both want to see the country move forward in some positive direction. Now let's kind of compromise and figure out how to do that, right? Um, and the ability of us to compromise has kind of gone by the wayside years ago. So I think we need to kind of bring that back, bring it back around to where it's not, hey, us against them, them against us, you're the enemy, no, you're the enemy. I think we need to kind of stop that crap, right? But do I think something like this could actually happen? Not a chance in Zeus's butthole. Um, but hey, I'm just one guy and I could be wrong, but I don't see it happening like ever. And I really did have higher hopes for this film, but it really kind of let me down in a lot of ways. Uh, it was sort of like an overgrown indie. I don't really know any other way to describe it, but it was okay. It wasn't great. So if you've seen it, and you disagree with me, sure, leave a comment. If you see it and you agree with me, leave a comment too. Click like, subscribe, follow wherever you happen to see me online, and I'll see you in the next video. Everybody have a great day.